This is a Niall Boylan at Night podcast from Classic Hits 4FM. See classichits.ie for more.
Can you ever judge somebody just by their accent? Well, of course, we've got loads of accents, haven't we, in this country? You know, anything from, country accents, be it from Cork, Galway, Limerick, or Dublin accents. And then when you get into then your cities, you've got different type of accents. For example, I can only speak for, obviously, Dublin people because I'm from Dublin. But you've got your South Side accent, your bumper-to-bumper. It almost sounds Australian or English, doesn't it? And they say like every 5 minutes because they're Americanized. And then you've got your inner city accent, which is, right, it's a bit like that, like, and you're talking like sorry, and everything's a sorry this and the sorry that. So you've got different accents. And the reason I want to ask you tonight is because I have an email here that came into the office a couple of weeks ago. I want to have a quick listen to this. Hi, Niall. I'm originally from the inner city in Dublin, and I have what people call a thick Dublin accent. It's something that I grew up with because my parents and a lot of my friends had the same accent. I've moved away from the inner city now, and I live in a lovely area, but I feel people look down on me because of my accent all the time. I'm currently out of work and have been going for interviews over the last few months. I can't be sure, obviously, but as soon as I open my mouth, I think they've kind of prejudged me. I've been refused from pubs, clubs before as well. And I think it's because of my accent. Now, maybe I'm being paranoid, but I just feel that people somehow think I'm uneducated and I'm rough just because I have my accent. And it's something that I can't do anything about. I would love for you to discuss it on your show sometime because I think it's something that happens to a lot of people all the time. That comes in from Liam. So what do you think of Liam's email? So let's say he's from the inner city. Well, I suppose he's going for a job, and they said the interviewer might say to him, so where did you work before? I worked in some places like Tesco's, and I worked in Dunstars, and I worked in a garage, and I'm really good at what I do, So that's candidate 1, which is Liam, and candidate 2 comes up. Yes, I worked in Tesco's once. I worked in Dunstars, and I did a bit of work in a garage. You've got plenty of experience there. That's the kind of stuff I do. Now, you've 2 completely different accents saying exactly the same thing. Who would you hire? See, people do judge. I mean, I want to know if you think Liam is paranoid. At the end of the day, we all judge a person pretty quickly when we meet them for the first time. But, I mean, is it about looks or is it how they speak? So maybe this guy actually does have a point. I mean, if you hear someone talking in a thick Dublin accent or maybe a thick Limerick accent, have you got a preconceived notion of the type of person they actually are? I mean, the emailer says that he has moved out of the inner city now and he's in a nice area. And he's trying to tell us that he doesn't suit the stereotype. But let's be honest, in a lot of cases, prejudgments can actually be correct. The question I want to ask you tonight is it unfair to judge people by their accents? Well, I'm guilty of it. I do it all the time. If I'm in, as I said to Suzanne earlier on, if I was in the city and some guy came up to me and said, I'm sorry, could you spare €1? I seem to have lost my money and I'm looking to try and get home. I'll be honest, I'd probably give him €1. But if some guy came over to me and said, all right, have you got an old score €1 there so I can get home, man? I'd be keeping my hand on my mobile phone. I'm keeping my hand in my pockets to make sure he doesn't try and take it. I know that's terrible. Isn't that wrong? Or is it wrong? People judge all the time based on accents. We have a preconceived notion that somebody might be a different type of person by the way they speak. So I'm asking you a simple question. Text 53544. A simple yes or no. Is it unfair to judge people by their accents? So if you think it's unfair, text the word yes. If you think it's fair, and you're usually always right, text the word no to 53544. All right, lots of texts coming in. Somebody said, if you want a job, dress the way the employer wants. Say what they want to hear. Tone down your accent if you need to. If you prefer to stay in the dole, do nothing. Another person says, here, who bleeding wrote that email for Limo? It defo wasn't him. And not all Southside, he says, not all Southsiders sound like John the asswipe. I'm stereotyping, I suppose. And somebody else says, yes, definitely. If somebody has an accent from an inner city, be it Dublin or anywhere else, they definitely usually are a lowlife. That's a bit of a generalisation, isn't it? All right, text 53544. The question I simply asked you is it unfair to judge people by their accents? Simple yes or no. Is it unfair? If you believe it's unfair, text yes. If you believe it's not unfair, text no to 53544. You can call us if you want on 1850 410 494. Alan, you're in Dublin. You're live on Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Niall. All right, how are you? I just going to prove a point about accents. Do be judging me now on the accent.
If I talk normally, they won't judge me as much.
Well, I was judging you on the state of your mobile phone, by the way, when you come on there, but however.
No, really.
Yeah. But in any case, Alan, you believe it's not unfair to judge people?
No, it's not unfair. No, it's completely normal. And the fact that the guy's complaining about it makes him out to be even thicker than he actually probably sounds, because he should do something about it. He should go and get elocution lessons. There's a whole load of things he can do. But he doesn't do that. He keeps going for jobs and not getting them and whatever else, because everybody judges everybody on their accent. That's what they do.
But is it... okay, we do it. I know society does it. But is it fair?
Of course it's fair. It stops you from getting mugged.
Mm-hmm.
It gets you the proper person to... employs the proper person in the job that you want to give them.
But how do you know the guy that talks like that, right, is not as good as the guy that speaks like that?
Because he talks like that.
I'm being serious.
Because he talks like that, and he hasn't realised that he'd want to sort that out before anything else is going to happen in his life.
So are people with... I mean, okay, but let's take, half the population of Tala, Blanchardstown, say Finglas, Ballymun, who might have Dublin accents.
Yeah.
But they couldn't all be bad people.
No. We're not saying they're bad people, but they're certainly not going to get certain jobs. And certain jobs is about 80% of jobs. Let's say a lot of them won't be using their voice that much.
Mm-hmm. So if you rang up an insurance company helpline or a bank helpline and the person was talking, all right, how are you doing? Yeah, this is AIB Bank. How can I help you?
That's what I'm saying. You put the phone down and you think you got the wrong number.
Would you not?
Just wouldn't.
Would you not just think he's a dub?
No, you wouldn't think that. You'd think, hang on a second here. If they've employed that bloke, I'm not going to do anything with them. I mean, that's just common sense. Anybody who gets on the phone with their stupid, thick Dublin accent or Cork accent or Limerick or whatever and says that this doesn't apply to their lives is a fool. And if they haven't realised it yet, they're even thicker, to be honest with you.
Okay, well, if you want to give us a call, the number is 1850 410 494. That's 1850 410 494. I want to go to Ivan. Ivan, you're in Cork. You're live on Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you.
Hi, Niall. How you doing?
Well, now, Ivan, I don't know what... I know you have a Cork accent, but I don't know if it's an inner city Cork accent, if it's an outside the suburbs accent. I don't know what sort of accent it is. Would it be considered to be a normal, posh, common? What is it?
Yeah, I suppose everyone has an accent in the country. I mean, for a small country like Ireland, and it's the same in the UK as well. Like you know, like if a person is from London, if they're East London, or if they're from the Midlands or whatever, they have a very strong northern accent. And it's the same in every part of this country.
Right.
I live in East Cork anyway, Niall, and I don't live in the city, as I said to you before. But no, I suppose just to go back to the point, really. It is unfair, I think, to judge a person by their accent. As you said there in your introduction, like, okay, you gave the scenario of giving the guy who was, in a kind of a very strong north side Dublin accent, and then the same guy, if he had a kind of a nice kind of, we'll say, south side accent.
Or pale accent, yeah. Yeah.
And okay, we do stereotype people, if we're being absolutely brutally honest about it, and we all do it. I'd be a fucking hypocrite if I said I wouldn't, But I mean, it is
What's
wrong.
Unfair about that?
What's that?
What's unfair about that? You said that's unfair. It's not unfair because the stereotype...
But it is unfair. What about, okay, well, we say
no.
you're such an expert
How is
so
it? It's completely true.
No, it is. No, I personally don't agree with you anyway, okay? But I qualify that by saying, okay, if you came into a job and I was an employer, okay, we'll just take this as a scenario, okay? And you came into me and you had a particular accent, okay? And I didn't like your accent, okay? Well, I said, well, you wouldn't give me the job because of your accent. Do you think that's fair?
Of course it's fair. That happens every day.
Oh, come on, that's discrimination. That's stupid.
No. You see, this is where people go off the beam. There's no such thing as discrimination when you're judging someone for a job.
Come on. This is
But
ridiculous.
hold on, but no, Ivan, isn't it fair that we?
Discriminate.
I mean, doormen do it, say, on nightclub doors, and I remember talking to a doorman here about this before, right? And they say, look, we've 30 seconds to analyse somebody and to find out if we believe they're going to start a fight inside the nightclub. And if a guy comes up to the front door, and they'll generally stop people to suss them out, right? And they go, "Are you doing? Have a few drinks tonight? Where are you coming from?" If the guy says, "Yeah, sorry, I'm just coming from the bar up the road. Everything okay?" And they'll usually go, "Yeah, go ahead." But if the guy they stop goes, "What are you stopping me for?" Well, they're immediately not going to let him in because he has he has a bit of an attitude and he has an accent, and they're usually right.
Yeah, and they are right. Yeah. And they're right to do it because that's called discriminating who's going to go into your club. It's not this big discrimination word about race or sexism and all that bullshit. It's to be discriminative in your decision.
You're just contradicting yourself now, Alan, what you just said.
I didn't contradict anything if you were listening to what I said.
And you just come and say that it is there.
No, I'm trying to explain to you. There's nothing wrong with being discriminating.
So you reckon so? Like if I was a doorman standing at a door and I saw you coming in, and I don't know what part of Dublin you come from. I don't particularly want to know it either. But I mean, if I saw you coming in and I heard your accent and I didn't leave you in, well, you wouldn't call that discrimination, would you?
It is discriminate. It's called discriminating. Discriminating.
See, Ivan, Alan is from Rathgar.
You know.
He's from Rathgar, so he would be the Southsider.
Oh, it's very posh.
Well,
no, there's nothing posh about it. You see, this is why people like you have your head up your holes. There's nothing posh about being from Rathgar.
Alan, you definitely have your head up your hole. Excuse me. No, what do they call you, Alan?
Right. You see, your immediate reaction because you heard I was from Rathgar was, "Oh, very posh." I mean, what the fuck are you talking about?
Well, you're definitely talking through your rear end anyhow because you can't qualify anything you just said. Okay?
Can you hear what I'm saying? Okay, can you hear what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You can understand 100%. The words I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm listening to you 100%.
I said it's a bouncer's job to discriminate who he brings into the club or not. That's his job. So if you're saying, "Oh, that's discrimination," that's exactly what he's supposed to do.
Well, can I ask you a question, Alan? Let's say you're out in a nightclub one night. You're a single man. You're out in a nightclub. You see this stunning-looking girl, right? And she walks over to you and she goes, "How are you?" Would you be turned off?
I'd walk away and I wouldn't even look at her. I'd look at her. I might check her ass out as she was going, but it's not at the end of it.
Okay, so you would discriminate against her because of her accent, and you would assume what type of person she was.
Of course, there's nothing worse in the world than a beautiful girl with it. How are you? All right. So it's literally what's known as a dick shrinker.
All right, okay, hold on for a second. I want to go to Gareth. If you want to give us a call, by the way, you can. The number is 1850 410 494. Gareth, you're in Dublin. You're live in Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Niall. How are you doing?
How are you doing?
I just want to speak to your man, Alan.
Yeah, go ahead.
Alan, what's wrong with my accent? I have a thick accent.
There's a few things, right? You need a few elocution lessons there, Niall.
No, I've been listening to you, and I know what you're saying. Go ahead. Hit me with it. What's wrong with my accent?
Your accent is very flat.
It's very what, sorry?
It's very flat. You probably don't pronounce your T's or H's very well.
Sorry?
Okay, can you hear me?
No, I can't.
His dog is barking in the background.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Your accent is very flat, Niall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's wrong with that? What's wrong with it? Why shouldn't I get into a nightclub? What's wrong with it? Why shouldn't I get into a nightclub or get a job because my accent's flat? What's the big deal?
Because you sound uneducated.
Oh, no, how do you know? You don't know me.
No, that's what you sound like. I'm telling you what you sound like.
Yeah, but why? Because I sound uneducated. How do you know I'm not educated?
Because of your accent, Niall. I've just told you many times.
Niall. My name's not Niall.
His name is Gareth.
My name's not Niall.
His name is Gareth.
Oh, Gareth, excuse me. Sorry.
You're uneducated.
Sorry, Gareth.
So you obviously, yeah, well, there you go again. So you weren't listening.
Right, okay. Well, you sound like a person who, if you asked me for a euro in town, I'd be, as Niall said, I'd be keeping my hand on my phone.
I wouldn't ask you for a euro.
Yeah, but you sound like a person who would ask me for €1. That's the point.
But why?
Why?
Do you judge us
Do you not
all?
know the way you sound?
Do I not know the way I sound, or do I not hear the way I sound? Did you get elocution lessons anyway?
Okay, do you understand me when I'm saying that your accent is flat?
Don't talk slow to me. Don't talk slow to me. You understand it. Don't talk
no,
slow.
Can you explain to this fellow what I'm talking about? She's having a problem understanding me.
Here we go. I can understand you. Go ahead.
Right. I told you now 6 times what's wrong with your accent, and you still are asking me why. Why? I don't know why. It's your upbringing, whatever, the way your parents speak, whatever.
What upbringing?
No, is this some kind of wind-up or something? Who is this guy? What's it? Why your new name is Gareth? Why? What are you talking about, Gareth? Why do you keep asking why for?
Because I'm waiting on you to explain why I wouldn't get a job or go into a nightclub, and you keep saying, because my accent's this. What's wrong with me accent?
I said because your accent is flat. Do you understand that?
Yeah, and what makes you any better than me, though?
I didn't say I was better than you. I sound better than you.
No, you don't sound better than me.
Well, that's your problem there, Gareth.
Alan, is that not subjective? How do we know, for example, that Gareth is not maybe a barrister and you're unemployed, Alan?
How do we know Gareth's not a barrister?
How do we know?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Because he has a Dublin accent.
I have in my hand there. I'll bet now €100 if Gareth's a barrister or not.
Why? Because he has a flat Dublin accent?
Correct.
But is it not subjective? As he said, what makes you a better person than him? You said you don't believe you're a better person than him, but you believe you're more educated because you have a better accent. Well, why
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
You did call it. Well, you did say he was uneducated.
I said he sounds uneducated.
Yeah.
Correct. He sounds unaware of the way he sounds, so he hasn't worked on his voice. So therefore, he sounds like a person who's wandering around going, why do people keep saying this to me about my accent? I have a grand accent. You don't have a grand accent. You've got a flat Dublin accent, and that'll stop you from getting jobs.
And that's what I'm saying. Oh, you know what? You're unbelievable, you are. You really are.
Well, explain to me how I'm wrong, Gareth.
Yeah, but Niall put it to you there. How do you know I'm not a barrister? How do you know? How would you know?
Will you ever feed that dog or something, Gareth, will you?
Yeah, do something with the dog, Gareth, will you?
Give him water or something, or whatever he wants, or give him a bone or something.
Maybe close the door or something.
Okay, well, hold on a second. You quieten your dog down, I'll come back to you. Al, you're in Dublin, you're live in Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you, Al.
How you doing, Matt?
Go ahead, what do you want to say, Al?
I agree with Alan.
You agree with Alan?
Yeah, I don't normally do, but I do on this one.
Oh, here we go.
Definitely. No,
fair play to you, lad, fair play to you. That dog still hasn't shut up yet, guys. Can you give him a bone or something?
No, I think a lot of people, I'm from a part of Dublin, but a lot of people don't, it's a rough enough part, but I think it's just, if you talk properly, it's not about talking D4 or rough, you just talk, it's like Alan's from Rathgar, but he doesn't sound posh, he doesn't sound rough, he's middle of the road, he talks properly,
Yeah,
exactly. It's called elocution. Now.
Yeah.
I don't get me wrong, and I'm not going to judge people on their accent, but I do have a problem when somebody won't make the effort to speak properly. I mean, there is, the ones that talk like Dan is all sturdy and how are you, and
and then it's the ones that talk like that just stepped off the plane from LA, off the south side.
Yes,
it's ridiculous. It's put on, I think, a lot of the time. A lot of people can talk properly, without. I think people who speak rough make it a point of talking like that, and I think the same goes for the D4 heads,
But heroin isn't great for the old vocal cords.
No, it certainly isn't. Okay, but in fairness, Al, there's a lot of people are born and raised in certain parts of Dublin that might have a particular accent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like I'm from a fairly rough part of Dublin, but it's hard to explain. I think it's in school and stuff like that. You go to school, and it is about education as well. If you can speak properly, you don't have to speak the way that is in that area.
Somebody says here, by the way, Gareth's dog speaks better than him. I don't. Gareth, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, well, you heard what Al said. You know, he's from a rough part of Dublin, but he said it's just a matter of, trying to speak properly, making a bit of an effort.
Yeah, but I do make an effort, but that doesn't mean because I don't speak. That's the way I speak, and that's it. That's where I'm from. Look at Robbie Keane. Where's he from? Look what he does.
Yeah, but
look how much
hang
money
on a
he
second.
has.
I wouldn't give Robbie Keane a job if he came up to me with that stupid accent that he has.
Here we go, yeah. But he's more money than you in his bank account, hasn't he?
Hang on a second, Gareth. The other fella, Alan, there, right? Or Al, whatever he's called.
Yeah, mate.
He could be from the same part of town as you. He doesn't sound that different from you. But for some reason, he's far more aware of the way he sounds. So therefore, he's able to improve on it. Why don't you know the way you sound?
Well, that's where, we're all from different areas. That's the way we all speak.
No. Do you not think you can improve your voice?
Why should I go to pay for lessons to be taught how my voice is? It's ridiculous.
Right. Well, there you go. I can't answer that question.
Well, I suppose, now, I'm not suggesting for a minute, Gareth, you should, but, society does seem to have an issue, and it judges people. Whether we like it or not, it happens.
Yeah, but I don't think it's fair.
It doesn't matter whether it's fair or not.
I mean, if I go up to the four courts tomorrow and I look at all the cases coming before the courts of, be it joyriding or assault or robbery, or now, of course, we've got white collar crime as well, and that's little bit different. But if I look at all the criminal, serious injury, etc., crimes against people, so to speak, I don't think I'd be too far off the mark when I'd say the vast majority won't be speaking with a very nice accent.
Niall, here's one for you, right?
Mm.
Liverpool, right?
Yeah.
We all talk the exact same. How is that in every part of Liverpool?
But they don't.
They don't talk.
Yeah.
They know they don't.
Talk the exact same. See what problem with your hearing, Gareth?
They don't actually, Gareth. It's the same as Cork or same as Limerick or Galway. You go to these places, you go anywhere at all in this world, there will always be different dialects within a city. You can have a thick Liverpool accent, and everybody in Liverpool has a Liverpool accent. But in saying that, some accents are thicker than others.
Yeah, but
and that's
I agree some points which you're saying.
Yeah.
But some points I think Alan is really putting me down. That's not fair, putting me down.
Hang on a second. No. See, Gareth, I wasn't putting you down at all.
You were. You said I
was
should
saying that you just need to be aware of the way you sound, which are not. So you need to go and talk to someone and ask them, listen, how can I improve my voice? And they'll be able to tell you.
Well,
you'll be speaking differently within a month.
Yeah, but Alan, maybe he's happy with the way he speaks.
He doesn't sound very happy.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy. But why should I go and get lessons to go and get a different job that I already have a good job? So why would I need another job?
Well, then maybe you are fine. But the bloke who wrote the email in probably sounded like you.
But how can you say that when you didn't even hear the guy's voice?
Because he was describing a voice like yours.
Describing a voice by who? Who described him?
Well, he said he had a Dublin inner city accent.
He had a Dublin accent.
And you have a Dublin accent as well?
Yeah, but it's not the same as yours.
And what? There's loads of people that haven't got the same accent.
Okay, well, hold on a second.
Do you know what the show is about?
Yeah, I do know what the show is about.
Right, so why did you ring in? If you're happy with your accent and you think everything's fine, what's your problem?
No, I'm annoyed at you, because you'll come people out.
No, I didn't put anybody down.
The last guy that was on from Cork, you were saying, can you listen to me? Like, he's thick. He knows what you're saying. Don't be a fool. Like.
Right, okay. But are you a psychologist, Gary?
Okay.
Are you an elocution lesson?
Okay, hold on a second. I want to go to Caroline. You're in Galway.
That was.
Caroline, you're in Galway. You're live on Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you, Caroline.
Oh, hello. Hi, Niall. How are you doing?
How are you doing, Caroline? What do you want to say?
I'm not bad. I'm listening to Alan there. I don't know who he thinks he is there. He's putting somebody down because of how they sound.
Here we go, just putting somebody down.
Putting somebody down. Yeah. No, you are. Gareth is right to ring in. You know, how you talk, your accent is a part of your identity. It tells people where you come from. And if you've anything about you, you should be proud of who you are and where you're from.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't.
Can you tell from my accent where I'm from?
I don't care where you're from. The point is, you just said something very stupid.
But no, exactly.
You just said that you should be proud of wherever you're from. No, you shouldn't.
You should be
just
proud
happen
of
to
where
be born
you
there.
are. Where you're from. It's part of your identity. It's part of who you are.
No,
it's like a passport.
It's part of your identity. And anybody with any sense realises that they just happen to be born where they're born. There's no reason to have any pride in where you're born.
Well, no, I'm not saying you have to have pride in where you're born. If you don't like the place, you can move out if you want to.
That's what you just said.
Well, why are you saying that somebody should get rid of their accent? Who gives you...
Because if their accent is preventing them from progressing in life...
What makes you think that somebody should listen to you? What makes you think that somebody should listen?
If their accent is preventing them from progressing in life, they can work on it and get a better accent.
Why? For what reason?
Is this the why night? What is this, why Friday?
No,
what
come
do you
on.
mean why? I just explained
you are hell-bent on putting that fella down. You're hell-bent on putting that fella down. Yes, you
I didn't put anyone down. What's this,
told me to work on his accent
group or something?
And
why don't you all ring the Samaritans? You sound like a fucking idiot.
You've had your little rant. I want to say something to you. You've told a man that he sounds uneducated. How do you know he hasn't got 3 degrees under his belt? You've got no idea what his education's like.
Because I know by the way he sounds, he hasn't got 3 degrees.
Look, I went to college, and some of the people there had the finest accents from all around the area. Your accent is part of where you grow up, and if you are a person of integrity, you carry it with you. Every place
you think your accent can change? Excuse me, hello.
It can change.
There. You think your accent can change?
Of course it can. If you live in an
right,
area
well then what are you talking about? What are you talking about? If your accent can change, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about if you live in different areas. If you go to Australia for 10 years, you'll probably pick up an Australian twang. That's normal.
Yeah, and have you lost part of yourself, have you? Have you lost part of your identity, have you?
No, you
No, you haven't. Well, then there you are. You
totally
just proved your own point.
Listen to me a moment, please.
Well, can I ask you a question, Caroline? Well, hang on. Hold on a second, Caroline. Wait, no, let me just say something, Caroline. It's fair to say that society judges people. We judge people on their looks. We judge people on the way they speak. We tend to judge people, okay? And that's society. Whether you believe it's right or wrong is irrelevant. That is society. We do that. So when a guy, as I said earlier on, walks up to you in the street and he has a thick accent, you will judge him differently than the guy who has the, I suppose, the pale or posh accent.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, personally speaking, I find a person... Can I be honest with you, Niall? If somebody had an accent that's true to their area, I'd find them a warmer person. I found that in life. People that have...
That is the most stupid thing I've actually heard anybody say on the radio. No, it actually is. Because you just said...
not come on the air and tell people to get rid of their accents. That's very
insulting. What you just said. Before that, you just agreed with me that people's accents can change.
They do change.
Yeah, so what are you talking about?
Sorry, what did you say, Gareth?
She meant if you move away somewhere, you pick up the accent. She doesn't mean like you can just change it like by going for lessons.
What are people just wandering sponges? They can't do anything for themselves. They can't work on their own accent. You think you have to speak the way people around you speak? Are all you people mad?
Well, not mad. I think you need to. I don't know why you've got a hang up about an accent or somebody's accent. It's beautiful.
No, you're the one with the hang up on the accent.
No,
I'm the one saying it's the way the society is. You're the one trying to hug trees and tell people they shouldn't be put down. I didn't put down anybody.
You did. You told a man.
You put me down.
You told a man he sounded uneducated.
Yeah, he sounded uneducated. That's not putting someone down.
Listen,
that's telling you the way they sound.
May I say something
Excuse
to you,
me?
please? May I say something to you? The only way, in my opinion, Alan, the only way a person sounds uneducated is if they talk rubbish. Not their accent. So, I mean, in fairness, I'm listening to you.
Really?
I'm listening to Gareth.
Well, you actually think that's true?
I mean, Alan, it is true. I mean, when you talk about being uneducated, you know, it's not the way you say it. It's what you say, is it not? Surely.
It's what you say.
It's both.
Exactly. Of course.
No. Well, no. When it comes to education, whatever about judging people, when it comes to education,
and it's what you say.
No, it's
what you say.
It's not you say.
No. It's the way you say it and what you say.
Oh, come on! It's about what you say.
Have you been to the forecourts recently? Have you ever heard a barrister speak?
I don't want to listen to barrister speaking. Do you know who?
Have you ever heard a barrister speak in court?
I've heard solicitors speaking. You know, not in court.
Right.
But in court.
Okay.
To
now,
speak. But
Put them with a Dublin accent, saying all the same words that they have, and what do you think is going to happen?
I don't. What's your point you're making? Sorry.
My point is that it's both what you're saying and the way you're saying it that makes you either get the job or not get the job, or be a good barrister or be a shit barrister. It's one or the other.
Okay, hold on a second. Anthony, do me a favour, just stay there and I'll come to you straight after the break, all right?
Okay, mate.
If you want to give us a call, you can. The number is 1850 410 494. Somebody says here, ask Alan, is he educated or is he just an asshole? Another person says, shut that prick up. He's a nobody. Okay. Alan is a snob. Life isn't fair, but his idea of improving accent is just a put down. Anthony, you're in Dublin. You're live on Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you.
Hello, Niall.
How you doing, Anthony? What do you want to say?
I'm good. I just want to say, I don't know what Alan's problem is with people with a strong Dublin accent. What is his problem?
Well, he can answer that himself if he wants, if he's still there.
Yeah, is he there?
Yeah, he should be. Have we lost Alan? Oh, we're going to get him back now. He just lost his phone there for some reason. His problem is he believes that, Anthony, if you have a Dublin accent, you're not taken seriously. In other words, he believes that you're less of a person, that you should make an effort to change your accent to something that's more acceptable.
Well, I'd have to disagree with him there, I would. Mm-hmm. I deal with customers on the phone all the time in my job, and none of them have a problem with it.
And I mean, you obviously now have never had anybody say to you that there's something wrong with your accent, or they've never. No. You don't believe people treat you differently because you have a Dublin accent.
No.
Where are you from, by the way?
I'm living in Finglas. I'm from Cabra.
All right, okay. I mean, and do you think that accents make a difference?
No. Sometimes when dealing with customers from Italy or wherever, they could have to speak a bit slower for them, so because they can't understand a strong Dublin accent. Mm-hmm. But you still understand.
But see, society basically does judge people. You know what I mean? I mean, when for example, maybe I'm wrong in saying this, but remember the Garda Síochána stopped somebody at the side of the road, and if they happen to speak, rather grand, and sorry, officer, why did you stop me this evening? I think they have a different attitude towards the guy that might be in the car and he's going, "Oh, what's the story? What you stop me for?" Do you understand what I'm saying? I just believe society judges people by the way they speak.
Well, if you spoke to guys before, and some of them have very thick Dublin accents too.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, some of them do. Yeah, but I just believe that people do get judged differently. I mean, somebody mentions here Claire Daly, the TD, has a flat accent. Should she change it? Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of certainly.
Another great person that had a very thick Dublin accent and was a brilliant musician is Luke Kelly.
I do, of course, remember Luke Kelly as well. Yeah,
and he had a very, very strong Dublin accent.
Or who was the very famous Ronnie Drew, of course.
Ronnie Drew,
yeah. My Dublin, Ronnie Drew. Remember him well. Okay, well, wait there for a second, Anthony, because John, you're in Dublin, you're live on Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening, John. You actually agree with Alan, do you? There's a surprise.
Agree with Alan.
Yeah.
99% of everything that Alan says on the phone, I actually agree with Alan. There are only one or two things in total I don't agree with Alan on. I certainly wholeheartedly agree with him on this. Look, the reality is that, to quote the words of a very famous personality, perception is reality, right? I'm quite sure you've heard of that.
Yes, yeah.
Right? Now, you as you put to Alan, you're in a nightclub, pub, whatever, beautiful girl comes up to you, she's all that. How are you, love? All right. You would see skid marks on the floor. I'd be gone so fast. When you're ringing up a company, as I have often, and you hear, "Hello, how are you?" It's the most repulsive, unprofessional, obnoxious thing to hear over the phone. And somebody, I was listening to your phone, I was listening to you earlier, I think it was about 20 minutes ago, somebody raised somebody said something, I think it was yourself, Niall, that said something about one of your guests. How do you know that such and such isn't a lawyer or a barrister or a solicitor or something like that? Niall, let's be honest. Nobody that talks like this, right, is going to become a member of the bar. Let's just establish.
Well, okay. What about Anthony? Anthony, in his job, he answers the telephone. He's got a Dublin accent. He's from
I have to be honest. Unfortunately, because of the area that I live in, the surrounding businesses, I have made a lot of telephone calls, and I have spoken to an awful lot of people that answer phones in the locality. And I can tell you the most it's fair enough if the people that are ringing you. You see, there's a big difference, Niall. If the people that are ringing you have the same accent and come generally speaking, and I think that's probably what we're talking about here. If the people that are ringing you have the same accent or come from the same background roughly as yourself, then, no
big deal.
Like is like, you know what I mean? But I can tell you...
Okay, well, is there anything wrong with Anthony's accent?
Well, I personally think there's quite a lot wrong with it, yeah.
What's wrong with that, John?
Because you don't...
You have a problem with everything you do.
Yeah, but your accent is dreadful.
Is what?
It's dreadful to the ears, to my ears anyway.
Well, no, listen to me. Hang up.
Why? Don't have to hang up. Nobody has to hang up. You don't have to hang up. I don't. It's a forum for debate. I'm just giving you my personal opinion.
Sorry, Anthony, what did you say?
And why would I want to be a barrister anyway?
I never said anything of you. I never. You see, you're misinterpreting what I said. I never said. No, hang on a second. Listen.
Barristers, why would I want to be a barrister representing a rapist?
You're living up to the working class Jays is how you stereotype now, because you're not. You didn't listen to what I said. I said somebody earlier, Niall, mentioned.
How would you know? Yeah, that somebody with a Dublin accent wasn't
exactly.
a barrister.
What does that have to do with you wanting or not wanting to become a barrister or a member of the bar? I didn't say anything about you being a member of the bar.
You said there a minute ago, people with a Dublin accent, they wouldn't become a member of the bar, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be taken seriously as a member of the bar. Somebody with. Hang on a second. It is my considered opinion, and I'm fairly spot on here, that somebody with your accent probably wouldn't be taken seriously in the legal profession.
Do you want to answer that, Anthony? We've lost him there. Caroline, what do you agree? Well, obviously you don't agree with Jonathan.
No, I don't agree with John at all here. I think, it's for John, for you to come on and even tell a man to his, across the phone like that his accent is dreadful.
But his accent is dreadful.
Excuse me. How insulting are you trying to be to somebody? At the end of the day...
See, unfortunately... I didn't... hang on a second. When I came on the phone... Hang on, just open your ears for a second.
Why does anybody have to change the way they speak? They don't have to...
Hang on a second. Look. Whether you like it or not, as somebody mentioned earlier, right, we judge what we see. We're sensory beings, right? We judge what we hear and see every day. Listen to me. Open your ears. Listen. You sound like a fairly intelligent girl. Listen to me. Listen to me. You sound like a fair...
I was going to say there, maybe we should just... Maybe you need to take a step back and stop listening to how
will you
people
take a step back and listen to what I'm saying? Just let me finish my point. Let me finish my point.
With me in this is the content. What people are actually saying is more important than how they say it.
Communication. No, listen to me. Communication is about one person sends and the other person receives. You're not listening to what I'm saying to you.
But does she not have a point, John? And I said this earlier on. It's not how you say it. It's what you say, isn't it?
It is how you say it. Of course, it's how you say it. Listen to me. Allow me to make my point, which I was cut off from making. We are sensory beings, right? And by that I mean we judge on what we hear and what we see, on what we see and what we hear every day. Now, be that right or wrong, we judge on what we see and what we hear. And if the image in front of us and the sound that we hear is not conducive to what we consider to be acceptable, then we will judge that negatively. That's reality.
So the question I asked Alan, if a good-looking girl come over to you, John, you'd seen her in a bar, she looked sexy, she looked nice, she come over and she went, how are you?
Are you basically asking me that if a good-looking stunner come over to me and she opens her mouth and she's a how are you, would I take it?
Would you be interested?
I'd play with her like a ball of wool and dump her in the trash can.
John, I know you're talking hypothetically because that's never going to happen to you. It wouldn't happen to you, you know. Somebody wouldn't come up to you and do that because, first of all, they'd listen to you open your mouth. And what I'm saying is here, what you say is more important than your accent, they'd listen to what comes out of your mouth and they'd walk away very quickly because you're living in dream world.
No, you're the one. No, with all due respect to you,
I'm not.
You're living in cloud cuckoo land.
You are very
if you think, hang on a second, if you think that people, she's not.
I've had the patience
have you an
to wait for
auditory
you.
problem?
Hold on, John. Let her finish what you're saying. Go ahead.
You see, this is what I'm trying to say to you. It's what people say. Both Gareth and the last man there that came on, Anthony, both of those men came on. They were waiting patiently for what people had to say to them, and they answered, and they got involved with the conversation. You, on the other hand, you come in and you ride roughshod over everybody, and you always every time I've attempted to make a point,
you've overridden me.
I want to say to you one thing. You know, you're talking about these hypothetical situations. If a woman came up to you, etc. Let's go back to the point you made there a minute ago. You said if the accent is not acceptable, well, maybe it's not acceptable to you, John, right? Okay, but it's acceptable to the majority of sane-minded people.
Okay, well, hold on, both of you can't for a second. I just want to go to John. You're in Dublin. John, you're live in... Oh, is it John? Another John. Yes, sorry, you're live in Dublin.
Hello, Niall.
How you doing,
Hello,
John?
Niall.
Yeah, what do you want to say? Go ahead, you're live in Glasgow.
I have a problem with Alan there, the way he carried on. And John, I think, is as bad as he is.
Right,
Both
okay.
the Dublin accent.
All right, okay. Well, you certainly don't have a Dublin accent.
No, I'm not from... I'm from the country, and I worked with Dublin people all my life, and I never ever dreamt about what their accent was like. I worked with them in Cabra, English, Sean McDermott Street, you name it. And I never had no problem with their accent.
Do you think it affects the way people are treated?
No, if I was into Alan for a job, I don't think I'd stay too long with him with that attitude he has.
Well, John would have the same attitude, so I don't think you'd be going into John for a job. Anyway.
Can I clear something up here?
Yeah.
Right, and I think, I'm sure Alan won't mind if I speak on his behalf here, right? Neither myself nor Alan are saying that people with flat Dublin working class accents are necessary. Look, please, because auditory communication involves you listening. Please listen. The other girl's ability to listen just doesn't exist.
Oh, he hung up. Are you there?
I am, yeah.
I think John hung up.
I just want to ask him, what is the problem with a flat Dublin accent? If I'm from Leitrim and I live in Carrigallen, have I a different accent to the person in the next townland?
You see, I wouldn't know, accents from around the country. I can tell what Dublin accents are like and where people might be from, but I certainly wouldn't know, with somebody outside Dublin.
Yeah. Well, people often say to me, you're in Dublin so long, you never picked up the Dublin accent. That's just the way I don't pick up it. I could be in America for 100 years and I still wouldn't pick it up.
But is it fair to say, with respect to, John, I think society does judge people. We do judge people. I mean, in relation to what John said earlier on, and Alan said the same thing, you're probably not going to hear a solicitor or barrister in the courts with a thick Dublin accent. Now, I'm sure there is one or two, but generally speaking, you're not.
Niall, can I say something to you?
Yeah.
I saw you on the telly Friday night last, right?
Mm.
And I didn't know who, I never saw you in person.
Mm.
And I said to my wife, I said, that sounds like Niall Boylan. And I was right.
It was.
As far as you, yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't know, what you look like.
Oh, did you get a fright? Did you get a fright?
No, I did not. You look a fine man. And I said to my wife, he sounds like Niall Boylan. And it was you. She said to me after, with the hairdos and that.
Yeah, yeah.
She says, that is Niall off the...
So, I think I probably have, and people have said it before, I probably have a voice that you can recognise reasonably easy.
I was often slagged about my accent by a lot of Dublin people having a joke,
Yeah.
They say to me, well, you're not Dublin, you're a countryman, you trade for that where you're from, and this. You laugh about it,
Yeah, well, I can tell you're from the country immediately, obviously. I know you're not from Dublin. But I say that, I don't think there's anything wrong with your accent. But then again, see, I don't know outside Dublin accents because, there is a perception that if somebody has a thick Dublin accent, that they might be from a certain part of Dublin and they might want to rob you.
Yeah, well, I tell you, no, I'll be straight with you. I worked in the bar trade, I told you before, for the best part nearly 50 years.
Yeah.
And I've never, ever had a problem with inner city or any of them. They were always good to me. I went to parties with them, went on outings with them, and I tell you, I was often insulted to go over with my own countryman. You know where I'm coming from.
Oh, I do. I know where you're coming from. All right, well, hang on for a second. I want to go to James. James, you're in Limerick. You're live in Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you.
How are you keeping, Niall?
How are you doing, James?
I was listening to John there, and that's the reason I rang. And John has just proved the point about what he is. John hung up.
He did. He hung up. Yeah, he's gone.
He did hang up because he couldn't. That young lady was talking to him. Oh, I speak different than everybody else, and I'm a Limerick man.
Yeah.
But I love Limerick City accents. I love Dublin accents. I love the way they speak. I love the culture in their voice. Luke Kelly's, the deeper the Dublin accent, the more intrigued I am about it. And I'm not an educated man by any means, but I love that. And John seems to be the only person that was judging anybody.
See, I don't mind the Dublin accent. I probably don't have a real Dublin accent myself, right? But I don't mind the Dublin accent. But I do have a problem with people who are lazy. You understand what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about.
Niall, the way you talk doesn't make you lazy. You're lazy.
No. What I'm saying is this kind of lazy accent. People who don't even bother trying to speak properly. What I'm saying is, I've no problem with somebody who has a Dublin accent, that he's a dub, and that's fair enough, and they should be proud of where you come from, etc. Caroline said around. But I do have an issue with a fella like that, and the sturdy, and I'm going down the I have a problem with that because I just think that's laziness. You can speak properly if you really want to try.
But you should never, like, the way a person, I put it this way, no matter what somebody says to somebody, it doesn't change who they are. Regardless how you talk, if somebody says to me, you're an knob for the way you speak, it doesn't change who I am.
No, I know that.
It changes him. It shows him for what that girl that you had on there a minute ago. She's and that man there, that countryman that worked in Dublin. I worked in England with a lot of people that never lost their accents. And then I worked with people that went to England. They were only over there a couple of wet days, and they were speaking different.
Oh, hold on. John is actually back to defend himself here because you were giving out about him.
Right.
John, did you hang up?
Right. I did, and I'll tell you exactly why I hung up, right? Now, if I can be allowed to speak before some imbecile, and I use the word imbecile literally, because anybody who has an incapacity, assuming they're not disabled in some intellectual or auditory way, right? Anybody that doesn't have the capability to listen to somebody finish their point without intercutting on them before they finish, obviously is an imbecile or is lacking in some intellectual way, right?
Okay.
I never said that people with Dublin working class accents are bad, negative people. All I said was that somebody with a working class flat Dublin accent, the accent itself is usually indicative of several factors that can be associated with that person. One, that their standard of education is probably very, very low. Two, that the family background they come from is probably also very low, right?
I'm listening.
And, socially, I wouldn't associate myself with somebody from that kind of a background, and I don't. And I think, to be honest about it, that somebody, it's a fairly safe assumption that somebody from a working class background is probably going to progress through life professionally at probably a much less successful, a markedly, significantly less successful rate than somebody that doesn't have a working class Jesus Howie accent. Now,
okay.
The person...
let James respond to everything you said there. James, go ahead.
John, you're a fantastic human being. You have an awful lot of knowledge. But who
said I had knowledge?
By the way you speak there, you were pulling words out of dictionaries there. Like, I left school.
I was what? Say that again?
I said you pulled words out of dictionaries there that flabbergasted me.
What big words did I use?
I left school at 16, right?
What big words did I use?
John, listen here to me. I listen to you.
John, hold on for a second. John, if you're going to give out about people cutting across you, let James finish his point, all right?
Fair point.
Okay, go ahead.
I left school at 16. I took no fault of my own. When I asked a question in school, I deduct the duster. The answer was on the back of the duster. The teacher flung it at me. When I was 6 years of age, from 6 to 7, and nearly into 8, I was battered for 2 years when I was a child. But I don't hold grudges against my education. I'm 50 years of age, and I'm going back to school every Wednesday night trying to learn English. That doesn't make me any different, any better, or any worse than anybody.
They speak differently. Now, you said something about a working class background. About
The
5
Dublin
miles
working
away,
class background.
one of the richest men in Ireland used to live about 5 miles away from me. A working class man. JP McMahon.
Money. Hang on a second. Can I just?
But you, hold on a minute. Let me finish, please. Let me finish, and then you can. I'll listen in for the rest of the night here. Let me finish. You said there's people from a working class background. These are your words, not mine. From a working class background with plumber to life might not be very successful. Because you come from somewhere else, you can be whoever. Once you apply yourself, you can be who you are or what you want to be. See, people, John, you are the only man tonight that people are, like I don't judge people. But I wouldn't like to be in your company for too long.
Right, can I respond to what you've said?
Okay, go ahead, respond to what you've said.
Right. Now, allow me to respond. First of all, I know somebody, I don't know him, but I know somebody who is obviously very, very high profile, who came from a very working class family, who's a multi-millionaire. He's a certain individual with a certain catchphrase who I believe owns a certain motor car company. We all know who we're talking about.
Yeah, you're talking about Bill Cullen, who's a real dub, yeah.
Yeah, but but I want to make something clear here, Niall. Jays is how he is, right? One of the biggest misconceptions that Jays is how he is are under is that the dividing line, the distinction, and please let me finish on this, they're under the misconception that the distinction between being a Jays is how he and not being a Jays is how he is money, in that having money makes you not a Jays is how he, and not having money makes you a Jays is how he. You can be a multi that the individual I'm talking about will always be a Jesus Howie. It doesn't matter how much money he has in his bank account. All the money in the world is not going to change him. It's not going to change the fact that he's a Jesus Howie.
Okay, well, hang on for a second. I want to bring Ken in before I finish it up. Stay there, John. Ken, you're in Dublin. You're live on Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you, Ken.
How are you doing, Niall? How's things?
Grand. What do you want to say, Ken?
I just want to ask John where he is from. I know he said he's from Dublin.
Where am I from, or where do I live?
No, I know you're from Dublin, but what part of Dublin?
Well, I'm originally from the north side of the city. I'm originally from Malahide, but I don't live in Malahide.
Okay, yeah. So you think that every individual on the inner city, it's just an Jesus Howie, as you put it?
I would consider, to answer your question directly, I would consider anyone or everyone from a lower working class area that speaks with a very flat Dublin accent to be a Jesus Howie.
And why is that? I'm from Cabra.
Right.
And do I sound like a
Jesus
Howie? You asked me a direct question. Allow me to give you a direct answer. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So I'm uneducated, a junkie.
I never said you were a junkie.
No, I'm voicing my opinion to you that we cannot speak properly from an inner city part, that we're not educated.
What point are you trying to make?
I'm trying to make. You're coming up with all these long words out of the dictionary.
What long words have I come up with?
Oh, come on, man. You're joking.
What long words have I come up with? You're the second person to say... But you're the second person to say I used a long word.
You run your mouth off there. You don't let anybody get a word in edgeways. You run people down from inner cities, from regardless whether it's Dublin, Limerick, Cork, or whatever. People.
I never mentioned people from Dublin, Limerick, Cork, or anywhere else.
I'm only voicing my opinion on this. If you listen just for 1 second, we're talking about accents. I mean, I can put any accent on that you want. There's no problem.
Right.
Okay. One of the biggest parts of this country, in my opinion, right, the hardest working people are the lower class people, as we're regarded, right, and they do work. And when we're given the chance to work, we'll take it. But not all, here, what's the story, bud, and all that.
I never.
John, in fairness, going by what you say is a Jesus Howie, and I do know what you mean by a Jesus Howie. I wouldn't say Ken is a Jesus Howie. I don't hear Ken going, all right, what's the story? Ken speaks fine to me. I'd quite happily, if I met Ken in the street, quite happily chat to him. I wouldn't.
Very much
and I wouldn't judge him.
Right. Can I respond to what you said, Niall?
Yeah.
First of all, I never hinted nor made any inclinations or assumptions with regards to people from lower working class areas being lazy or anything of the sort. I never insinuated that at all at any point.
Well, I asked you a question, John, and I said to you, do you regard me as lower class because of where they come from?
And I said yes.
I mentioned Cabra, and you said yes. And
I stand by that.
You a direct question. Why would you say that? Because people in Cabra, Finglas, Ballyfermot, Crumlin, all these places, they're all decent people.
Right. Okay. Can I respond to what you just said?
Yeah, of course.
I've lived in one of those places. I'm not from there, but I've lived in one of those places for 17 years, and I can tell you it's a shithole.
Okay. Listen, come here. People would regard Dublin as a shithole.
No, Dublin isn't a shithole. No, Dublin is not a shithole.
I know it's not, because I've lived in it all my life, and of course it isn't.
No, but there are areas in Dublin that are absolute shitholes, and the area that I'm talking about is a shithole.
Well, see, now what you're saying, John, is that being a Jesus Howie depends on where you're from. So if that's the case, John, I'm from one of the roughest parts of Dublin. I was born and raised in Edenmore, so am I a Jesus Howie?
No, you're not. No.
Well, why not? If Ken's a Jesus Howie because he's from Cabra, surely I'm a bigger Jesus Howie.
Yeah, but you obviously have raised yourself to a certain You see, it's everything to do with from your standard of education through how your parents, the family you came from. It's not bullshit. It's reality.
No, it's bullshit, John.
It's reality. It's reality. It's reality,
John. You're talking shite now, honest to God. You really are.
What shite am I talking about?
Excuse me, can I speak for a second? I was well educated. I'm brought up.
You're well educated, are you?
Yes, I am.
Right. Can I ask what you do?
No, I'm not going to tell you that. It doesn't matter what I do.
Right.
I'm qualified at something, right? And I'm not going to tell you that.
Right.
And I'm actually working full time now as well. So for a man, Jesus, how are you? I think I'm doing okay.
I never commented on what you do for. I never commented on what you do. But I never commented on you working or not working.
No,
I never
I'm just
commented
telling
on
you that you think that anybody that comes from the inner city are all Jesus Howies and what's the story, bud, and just walk around looking for a bit of loose change to get a smoke and
I never. Hang on a second. I just want to qualify something. Open your ears. You said you're educated, right?
No, my ears are well open, John. You don't listen to me. That's the problem. You don't listen to what other people are trying to say to you.
Listen to what I'm saying.
You said what you want to say.
You said you were educated. He's not educated, Niall. You said you were educated. If you were educated, you have the ability to listen to me. Listen to me.
You're not listening to me. That's the problem.
No, but you're not listening to me.
You want me to listen to you, but you're not listening to me.
No, but
I think we can all listen to each other. Hang on, I have to wrap this up in a second. I need to go to Bernie first before I wrap it up. Bernie, you're in Galway. You're live on Classic Hits 4FM.
Hello, Niall.
Hello, Bernie.
Can I speak to John for a moment?
Yes, you can. Go ahead, Bernie. Go ahead. Yeah, he can hear you. Go ahead.
We can hear you.
Mm-hmm. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah. You know, I partly have to agree with you, but I'm just asking you now one question. So, can you comment on people that would come from Turnure and Blackrock?
What about them?
Would you say they're educated in Turnure and Blackrock?
I would imagine that per head, right? Per head. I would imagine the vast majority of people that come from Blackrock and Turnure would probably be of a higher standard of education than the average person that comes from, I don't know, Tala, Drimna, Crumlin.
I have to partly agree with you, but then I have to say as well, John, surely if somebody comes, you see, I know what sometimes I have to agree with you. Now tonight I do agree with you because I actually think that it's very important to be able to speak very well. To me, it's of essence to be able to speak. But then secondly, and I suppose we're not all privileged to come from Turnure and Blackrock. So we say Niall, we'll just comment on him for a moment, and he came from Edenmore. I don't even know where it is, but he was very well educated. So we see people come from, we say, the lower places, as you said there, and they go to school and they're educated. In your opinion, have they got any place in society at all then?
Which people are we talking about, miss?
We're talking about people, we'll say, from Thailand, you know.
Finglas places,
well,
yeah.
For good luck, we'll throw in Carver as well.
Yeah.
So if they're educated, we'll say go to college and all that. What would you think of those people then?
The ones that are educated?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, if they've gone and they've got themselves an education, if they've gone and they've got themselves an education and a qualification, you know, one would assume, you know, they've learned to speak properly, you know, in accordance with, you know, with what goes along with the education and qualification. So the best to look to those people.
Yeah. Well, I won't be much longer on the show, but honestly and quite, I have really to agree with you because...
Well, the thing about it is, you might agree with him, Bernie, but Ken, you know, who's got himself a good job, he's from Cabra, okay, he has a bit of a Dublin accent. He doesn't agree with John. He thinks he's judging people.
Definitely.
Well, I mean, if he has, to me, Niall, and if he has a Dublin accent, we have to make, well, that's okay, like, but I mean, and going back to this, I think, you know, in all fairness, I have to agree with John. I have to agree that if you can speak properly and you can speak, it's so important to be able to speak properly and make your point.
I think it's important what we say, Bernie, but sometimes people can't help where they happen to come from or the accent they happen to have, as long as they make an effort to speak properly, as you say. Well, I partly agree with some of what you say, but I think the problem is that people judge too quickly.
You've been listening to a Classic Hits 4FM podcast. Check out classichits.ie for more.